Before you judge this truth, listen carefully, because what you're about to hear may challenge everything you've been taught about love, kindness, and respect. And if you truly understand it, it will change the way you see power forever. Let me tell you a truth about human nature that most people are afraid to hear. A truth that has shaped empires, destroyed kingdoms, and quietly ruled every workplace, relationship, and hierarchy you've ever seen. And that truth is this. People admire kindness, but they obey power. And when forced to choose, they respect fear more than love, not because they are evil, but because they are human. From the moment civilization began, order did not arise from affection. It arose from consequence. And long before laws were written, fear was the first contract between people, because love depends on emotion, and emotion is unstable. But fear depends on self-interest, and self-interest is constant. You see, love is a gift people give you when it is convenient, when it feels good, when the sun is shining and life is easy. But fear is a calculation, and calculations don't disappear when circumstances change. When people love you, they follow you as long as following you costs them nothing. But when people fear you, they follow you because not following you costs them something. And that difference is the foundation of authority. Now understand this clearly. Fear does not mean cruelty. It does not mean violence. And it does not mean hatred. It means consequence. It means boundaries. It means certainty. Because the human mind craves structure more than it craves affection. And when structure disappears, chaos fills the space. Think about how people behave when rules are enforced versus when rules are optional. Think about how children test limits not because they want to be punished, but because they want to know where safety ends and where danger begins, because certainty creates security, even when that certainty is strict. This is why leaders who try to be loved by everyone eventually lose control, because they hesitate to disappoint, they hesitate to enforce, they hesitate to draw lines. And hesitation is the language of weakness. Power does not collapse because of opposition. It collapses because of inconsistency. Machiavelli understood something that modern minds try to ignore, that human loyalty is not moral. It is situational. People are loyal when loyalty benefits them. And when the cost of loyalty rises higher than the reward, love alone will not save you. Fear, however, anchors behavior because it attaches consequence to action. And consequence is the only teacher the ego truly respects. People may praise a kind leader in words, but they test that leader in actions, and every unchallenged boundary becomes an invitation to push further. This is why fear, when balanced with fairness, becomes more reliable than love, because fear does not require emotional maintenance. It does not need reassurance. It does not need constant validation. It simply exists as a silent reminder that actions matter. Now here is where people misunderstand Machiavelli. He never said a leader must be hated. He said a leader must never be despised, because hatred provokes rebellion, but fear enforces respect. Hatred is emotional, fear is rational, and rational emotions last longer. When people fear the consequences of crossing you, they may not adore you, but they will respect you. And respect is what sustains influence over time. Love fades when comfort fades. But fear remains when comfort disappears, and history proves this again and again, because the leaders remembered longest are not the most loved, but the most decisive. Look around your own life, and you will see this truth operating quietly everywhere. The person who is always available is rarely valued. The person who never enforces boundaries is often taken for granted. The authority figure who always forgives without consequence loses credibility, not because people are ungrateful, but because the human mind associates value with cost. What costs nothing is assumed to be worth nothing, and what carries consequence is treated with seriousness. Fear, when used intelligently, creates gravity. It gives weight to words, and it makes presence felt even in absence. This is not a call to dominate others. It is a call to understand the mechanics of influence, because real power is not loud. It is consistent, it is predictable, and it is firm. Fear is not screaming. Fear is knowing that rules will be enforced, promises will be kept, and violations will be answered. Love asks people to behave well. Fear ensures they do. And here is the paradox most people miss. When fear is paired with fairness, it often produces more loyalty than love alone, because people trust systems that are firm, and just more than systems that are soft and emotional. Predictability builds trust, even when that predictability is strict. Machiavelli observed that people are quick to offend those who are kind, but careful with those who are firm, not because they prefer oppression, but because they instinctively avoid risk. Human beings are risk-managing creatures, constantly calculating gain and loss, and fear clarifies loss in a way love never can. Love says, I hope you'll do the right thing. Fear says, you know what will happen if you don't. And certainty always beats hope in the real world. Now ask yourself honestly, how many times have you been respected more after setting a firm boundary than after making a sacrifice? How many times have people treated you better after realizing you would walk away, enforce consequences, or withdraw access, than when you endlessly gave chances? This is not cynicism. This is psychology, and denying it does not make it disappear. Power that relies only on kindness becomes fragile, because kindness without consequence teaches people that limits are imaginary. The dark truth is that fear does not need love to function, but love without fear eventually collapses under entitlement. The strongest leaders throughout history understood this balance instinctively. They made people feel safe through structure, not comfort, and respected through certainty, not approval. Fear keeps systems intact when emotions fluctuate, and emotions always fluctuate. So if you want to be effective, whether as a leader, a creator, a parent, or an individual commanding respect in your own life, understand this lesson deeply. Do not seek to be adored. Seek to be respected. Do not confuse kindness with weakness, and never mistake love for control. Control comes from consequence. Influence comes from consistency, and power comes from understanding human nature as it is, not as we wish it to be. Fear is not more moral than love, but it is more reliable, because it speaks the language the human ego understands best, the language of self-preservation. And now, if this truth challenged your thinking even a little, pause for a moment, because the most dangerous ideas are not the ones that shock you, but the ones that make too much sense. If you want to understand more of the psychology that truly governs human behavior, if you want to learn how power, influence, and respect actually work in the real world, then stay with this channel, subscribe, and return often, because knowledge like this is not meant to be heard once. It is meant to be understood deeply and applied carefully.